Hey, welcome to our class of Tuesday Night Beer School with me, Chad of Chad's Beer Reviews, and special guest Mike versus Beer. What's going on, man?
Hey, Chad, good to see you again, man. And thanks for the invite. Appreciate you sharing your stage with me.
Yeah, Christina is not feeling good, so I had to call you in. It's you and I did the Land Shark Lager about a month ago,
Yeah, that's
so
right.
I figured like we could review that type of beer to actual beer judging specs.
Uh huh.
So Um, anybody who can see Mike's screen can see what the beers are: Stella Artois and Heineken. But these are two examples of the international pale lager style, which is 2A. 1B is the American pale lager. So let me just read this real quick. So overall impression: a highly attenuated pale lager without strong flavors, typically well balanced and highly carbonated. Served cold, it is refreshing and thirst quenching. Now, the international pale lager is very similar to the American macro. It just has fewer adjuncts or sometimes none at all. Um, and it's funny, they actually say American lagers tend to be typical import or green bottle international beers. Like you have the two green bottles there,
Yeah.
often confusingly labeled as pilsner. Any skunkiness in commercial beers is a handling fault, not a character. Mike's, again, spoilers. Mike's got the two green bottles there, and I have the same two beers but in cans. So, we'll get to that aroma characteristic in a bit.
Yeah.
Uh, People can pause and read if they want for the history. Character ingredients: 2 or 6 row barley. See, it says may use rice, corn, or sugar as adjuncts, but are generally all malt. Style comparison: more bitter and filling than American lager, less hoppy and bitter than a German Pils, less body, malt flavor, and hop character than the Czech Premium Pale, which is the Czech Pilsner. More robust versions can approach a Munich Helles in flavor, but with more of an adjunct quality. And we have, Heineken is one of the commercial examples listed here. But as you can see, we both have Heineken and Stella Artois. So,
Yeah.
but I
What's the
have,
freshness date on yours there, Chad?
yeah, I was about to ask you that. Mine says the Heineken's best before February of next year, and then the Stella Artois was canned in January of this year. So they're fairly fresh.
Yep. And mine are both best by January of 25. So they're
Okay, yeah.
they're
So
the
they're probably
same
January.
age. Plenty
Yeah.
of time before they reach that shelf life date.
Hmm.
But again, I have the green bottles, so I'm at risk of light contamination. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the
Yeah.
can.
Lights. All right. I guess we can start on aroma. So which one do you want to start with, Stella or Heineken?
Um, I guess I already smelt the Stella, so let's
Okay, we'll start
look at
with
that one
Stella.
first. Yep,
Does it smell skunky?
it does. It does. I mean, you definitely can pick up the malt. Let's say
Yeah.
almost like a sweet malt underneath that skunkiness, but it definitely has the skunky presence.
See, mine doesn't because it was in a can, but
Mm-hmm.
mine does have, I think it's a little bit of acetaldehyde. To me, it smells like rubber gloves.
Yes.
You ever smelled beer that smells like rubber gloves?
Well, I've smelled strange things in beers, and people have totally ripped me apart for that.
Yeah.
Acetaldehyde. Oh my gosh,
Can you?
I did an unrelated review, and I thought it was a hard cider. I should have picked up
Yeah.
that the head was far too big, but
You
that's a
get
different
any
story.
you get any hop character on this?
Yeah, actually, I do see some. I do smell some spicy hop aroma on that. No doubt
Yeah.
about it. How about you?
Yeah, it's there, but it's fairly minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And it does, like, it has like a kind of a slight kind of fruity essence too, which I assume is like, I don't know, could just be like yeast esters or something, but yeah, it just smells like beer.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
If you have a, let's say, non-beer drinker, this is what they're expecting to smell, kind of.
yeah. All right, let's give the Heineken a whiff.
Sure. Now, immediately, I feel like Heineken has this stereotype of skunkiness, and that
Yeah,
is probably accurate, not because of processing issue, but more so because of those green bottles, right?
yeah.
And this one isn't skunked, so I'm very happy about that.
Really? I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah, I am
Well,
too. I'm surprised that the well, and this one's traveled further.
Yeah.
but it might have a better quality ingredient list than this one over here too.
I will say, like, as soon as I stuck my nose in this, I just got like way more aroma.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, this has like more of like a almost pilsner kind of smell to it.
So for me, the Stella is definitely a stronger aroma, probably because of that skunkiness, right? But this one is subtle, but it does smell like a spicy German style pilsner.
Yeah.
Nice, sharp hop aroma coming off of this.
To me, it's very grainy. Like it just smells like you ever been to like a brewery or homebrew store where you can actually like sift through the grain there. You
Uh huh.
know, that's it's to me. It's to me the Heineken is very grainy. The Stella is like a little bit more fruity. I'm actually I'm actually not picking up as much on the hops on the Heineken, but I will
Mm-hmm.
say like it doesn't have like that rubber glove thing going for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, now that we know what each smells like, we're gonna check the specs, as I always say. All right. So here is the official BJCP specs for aroma: low to medium low, grainy malty or sweet, corny sweet malty aroma. Very low to medium spicy floral or herbal hop aroma. Clean fermentation profile. All right. Well, um, as far as the grainy part, that both beers are checking for that. Very low to medium hops. Yeah, it does say clean fermentation profile, so I would penalize the Stella, and you can obviously penalize yours because of the skunkiness
Yep.
that's not supposed to be there. So
Yep.
aromas on a scale of 1 to 12. It's really, really rare that it's really rare that I would give a 12 right out of the gate. Sometimes I come back, but
Yep.
so for me, the Heineken, that is, I'm gonna be a little conservative on this one. Well, this is conservative for me. People might think this is really generous. I'm gonna give it a 10. What do you
Okay.
think?
So comparing to the characteristics that you just shared, correct?
Hmm.
I'll go a little bit lower. I might do an 8. Maybe
Okay.
I'm going to be a tough grader, but it's all relative, right?
Yeah, and you can always come back too.
Sure.
And for the Stella, I'm gonna kind of like meet you there because it's a little something's off about it, and it's just not like as whoops, wrong box there. I'm gonna go 8 for the Stella.
And I'm going to mark mine down to a 5 just because of that skunkiness.
Oh wow,
It's so prevalent.
harsh,
Now, I guess
harsh
you could go.
judge.
Let's go 6. It's like half the scale of 12, right?
6. Yeah. Well, yeah. You figure like 6 is like average, so.
Okay.
As far as appearance, they look pretty much identical. I'm not sure how yours are looking. Yeah,
So
my
interesting. Remember the Heinekens from Europe and the Stellas from North America. And I
mhm.
poured them the exact same way with a Mosier pour. And you can see the Heineken actually displays lacing, and the Stella has absolutely none. They both
Yeah.
started with a
If I
very
do
large
this, I
batch.
get a little.
But I have this lacing ring that's, an inch above the water line in this cup, and it's consistent all the way around. And I wasn't expecting any lacing whatsoever, so that's a pleasant surprise on the Heineken.
Yeah, that's not even really necessary. Let me bring up the appearance specs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
Pale
if we're
straw to
looking purely as color,
yeah.
they're both clear. They're both golden. They're
Mhm.
I think the Stella's a little bit lighter than the Heineken. Like looks
Yeah.
like it's slightly diluted in comparison. The Heineken looks like a little bit more of a robust color.
Mhm. Yeah, so as far as the specs go, it says pale straw to gold color, white frothy head, may not be long lasting, very clear.
Yeah,
So they're both within the guidelines there.
yeah.
Um, I'm gonna give both of these it's 3 out of 3 for appearance. What do you
I give
think?
both of them a 3.
Okay. All right. Now we get to the best part, the flavor. You want to start with the Stella?
Sure.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Salute and prost.
Hmm. What do you think?
Well, again, it's skunked, so it does have that unpleasant flavor. It's thin, it's malty, and it has a little bit of like herbal spice bite to it, a little bit,
Yeah.
like some earth tones in that for sure. How about you?
Yeah. Mine's a little different because it's the can, so it's not skunky. But to me, remember how I said it smells like rubber gloves? Has like a little bit of like an oily kind of taste to it, which I assume is probably acetaldehyde or DMS, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't taste like very grainy. It has like a slight kind of fruit essence on it. I will say like the palate overall is very light. It's not sour like or like dirty taste or anything like that.
Right?
Doesn't taste old. Um, it's just like a very light kind of graininess. I'm not really pulling much in the way of hops on this one. If they're there, they're like really really faint.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I guess I'm unsure if it's the skunkiness that I taste or that the hops that I described.
Yeah.
It is rather disappointing to have that because it's really, let's say, an unfair assessment. I'm assessing this bottle, which
Yeah.
wouldn't be, let's say, what it's intended to be, but that's all I can do, right?
Well, I mean, if they're gonna put it in a green bottle, like you have to judge it on that because
Sure.
like the brewers know that green and clear bottles are gonna skunk up. So,
Common knowledge in the brewing industry for sure.
ready to move on to the Heineken?
I am.
All right. I'm not sure what they say for cheers over there, but cheers again.
Yeah, in Holland, I'm not sure. Prost.
Hmm. I'll let you go
It's definitely
first.
more pleasant.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm surprised, really, because in my mind, I've had so much Heineken that's been skunked before, and my preconceived notion coming into this, I'm like, oh, the Stella's going to be the better. It'll be the better of the two. That's not the case on these two bottles side by side. That
I
Heineken,
agree.
it has I think the kind of like the color indicated, it was more of a robust golden color. The mouth feels a little fuller. The flavor is well balanced. It is malty. I taste the sweetness of the malt, but then there's just subtle hops on the back end. There's nothing that causes offense in the Heineken.
I agree. And I would go even further and say like this has like a slight kind of toasty malt flavor to it, like almost like that you would get like in an amber lager of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can just like taste like actual kiln malt with the Heineken, whereas the Stella just tastes like Stella's like wet straw.
Yeah.
And I do agree, the Heineken has legit hop character on it. I mean, it's compared to like what most American beers we're used to drinking, it's pretty subtle, but
Yeah. No, it's nice.
it
And
definitely has like way more hops than American lagers. All right, let's check the specs for flavor. All right, low to moderate levels of grainy malt flavor, medium low to medium bitterness with a crisp, dry, well attenuated finish. I would agree with that for
yeah.
both of those. Um, the Stella is low on both, and the Heineken's at least medium or moderate on both. The
Yep.
grain character can be somewhat neutral, okay, or show a light bready crackery quality. Yeah, okay, that's like the Heineken, yeah. Moderate corny or malty sweetness optional. Medium floral, spicy, or herbal hop flavor optional. Balance may vary from slightly malty to slightly bitter, but is usually relatively close to even. Neutral aftertaste with light malt and sometimes hop flavors. That's interesting because they give you quite a range there.
Yeah.
So both of these beers are like within the specs. So like kind of at this point is where you kind of you know judge more subjectively. For me, the Heineken is like I mean the style guidelines were inspired by this beer, and this particular can I have is actually really good. I'm gonna go
Mm-hmm.
pretty high on this one. I'm gonna go 18. for the
Okay.
Heineken.
I was thinking 17. I
Okay.
I like it. It's a solid representation of what you described.
Hmm. And for the Stella, I mean, it's a little something's a little off on it, and like I mean, it's just very mild overall. But otherwise,
Yep.
I mean, it's within the guidelines. Um, it's not bad at all. It's just not great. I'm gonna go. I'm thinking 15,
Yeah, I'm gonna go like 11.
11.
Unfortunately, that again, that skunkiness is so prevalent. While you were reading, I poured the remainder of both bottles one at a time. The Heineken first, and poured nicely. And as soon as I poured this one and generated that foam ahead, it's just skunkiness.
You can
Just
smell it again.
pours right out of it. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I cannot rank this as highly as any brewer would want their beer ranked for sure.
yeah. All right, we'll move on to mouthfeel. I mean, we kind of already have an idea of the mouthfeel, but I just want to take two quick sips of each.
Sure, I picked up on that already, but I'll do it again.
I think the Heineken has like a little bit more body than the Stella.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably call them both like light to medium light body and probably moderately, fairly highly carbonated. I wouldn't say when I think high carbonation, I think of like bubbly or LaCroix or something like a soda, you know?
Yeah, nothing like that for sure.
These aren't like super effervescent, but they're definitely pretty bubbly.
Oh,
Then
no
again,
doubt.
most lagers like this are.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me bring up the specs for mouthfeel. Light to medium body, moderately high to highly carbonated, can have a slight carbonic bite on the tongue. Neither of these have a carbonic bite, unless you were like sucking it
No,
straight from the can or the bottle. Maybe
no,
they're not that spastic.
no, not at all. And light to medium body, I think they're both in that range. I
Yeah,
think Stella for me is light. The Heineken is like right in between light and medium. I wouldn't call it medium. It's just a
yeah,
little more full than the Stella, and
yeah.
I
I
like
agree.
that.
Medium
I
light.
that thin mouthfeel on the Stella is just it's unimpressive, is what it is. How many points
Um,
do you get for that one?
you get it's a 5 point scale for a mouthfeel,
Okay,
but I think to me the Heineken is there for everything. So I'm gonna give it the full 5 out of 5.
I'd agree, and I'll go. I'll take that Stella down a notch for sure, but only by 4 because
That's what I was thinking.
it's not my preference doesn't mean that it doesn't score appropriately to the category.
Yeah. All right. So overall, the Heineken is definitely a better. I think is or at least this particular can is a better representation of the style, and it's just a better, in my opinion, a better product.
Hmm.
Um, if this was like if this was somebody's homebrew, I would be amazed. But yeah, this one's really good. I'm gonna go again, folks. Always judging the container we have in front of us. I'm gonna go 8 out of 10 overall. That gives me a total score of 44. What
Yeah,
do you, what's your overall for Heineken?
I probably give it for this category.
Mhm.
I'm gonna give it a 7.
7? Yeah,
Yep.
that's fair.
Hmm.
That's a 40. Yeah. If this was an actual competition, I could probably meet you in the middle somewhere. I'd probably take aroma down or maybe flavor down a point or 2.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. By all means, that's not a failing score on either of
Mhm.
them. You know, at 82%.
Yeah.
What out of 40, 42 out of 50 if we average our points, right?
Yeah. Yeah. As for the Stella, I mean, it's also a fine product. It's just not as impressive as the Heineken. Um, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go 7 on this one. What do
And
you think?
I'm going a 5. The
5?
skunkiness just can't be overcome, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have a bigger differential on this one. I'm 37, you're 29. So
Yeah.
if this was
Well,
an actual competition, we'd have to like meet in the middle somewhere.
but
I could
if it was an
probably
actual competition, I bet we'd be sampling products from the same pool. Like you have a can, that
Mm.
was shipped to Florida. I have a bottle shipped to Michigan. Like,
Right, right.
when were they actually brewed and under what conditions, and different vessels. They're wild. Like, if you had this bottle and I had your can, maybe our scores would be perfectly transposed.
Yeah. Or if we were in the same room at the same time,
Yeah.
drinking the same product. But yeah, so the overall score for Heineken was 42 and about a 33 for the Stella.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's still fair. I mean, anything over 30 is good, on the BJCP scale.
Yeah, and I think that in the world where let's say, the vast majority of craft beer enthusiasts are so goo goo gaga over IPAs, all this hops and everything, full bodied and massive amounts of alcohol in comparison, it's very easy to overlook how difficult it really is to brew an easy drinking lager. Like,
Yeah,
you mess anything up in a lager and it's totally exposed. What
yeah,
case in point, this Stella here, right?
yeah.
Right. But to
So
brew
much of it is
something
just
with that clarity is not easy. It's hard.
yeah. The yeast wrangler, I think, is more important than the brewer.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the yeast, yeah, has such a huge play on everything. It's amazing.
Yeah. I always ask Christina if she learned something that she didn't know. Was there anything that you learned about this style that you didn't know?
Well, one, I learned a lot about your process of scoring. I've never
Mhm.
scored anything through the categories that you have. I do my personal scoring. I'll call it a hack, right? I drink the beer and I tell you how do I like it, and I try to consider the category that it's in, but I
Yeah, me
don't
too.
go through everything like the checklist that you have. So that was really neat for me to see. I learned a lot just from that. From the
Yeah.
style, let's see here. Looking at it, I guess the style, when the mouthfeel that was light to medium, I was
Mhm.
expecting that would always be light in this. So I
Mhm.
guess I've become aware that no, you can get good lagers that are medium bodied, and I guess that does
Yeah.
make sense when you get a, let's say, more, when you go to a craft beer brewery that brews a lager, it's definitely going to be a more medium body for sure.
Yeah.
That
This
makes
although
sense.
I will say the Heineken is probably about the biggest body you're gonna get on a beer of this type,
Uh huh.
you know? If anything bigger than that, you're probably, like, in Munich Helles territory or even, like, Fest beer or something like that.
Right.
Well, thanks for, agreeing to do the show. So,
For
like, we're
sure.
gonna do all like, the next week is International Amber Lager, and then after that is International Dark Lager. So, if you wanna come back the next 2 weeks, let me know.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm going to be traveling again here shortly, so I don't think I'm going to be available, but I do appreciate the invitation, Chad.
Alright, no problem. I'll put links to all your stuff in the show notes, and, thanks for doing the show, and I will see you around real soon, I'm sure.
Sounds good,
See
Chad.
you
You
on
take care,
TikTok
man.
and
Thanks
Instagram.
again.
Alright, I'll see ya.
Yep. Goodbye.
Bye.
Somebody brewed it, Chad just reviewed it. Thanks for watching Chad's Beer Reviews. Trust me, the next episode will be a lot better.